Lilithloop. Been getting questions about this deck going into BT14. I think it's a lot stronger going to BT14, mainly because of Wisdom Training. Um, and if you've been curious about playing Lilithloop going into BT14 format, here's the new deck list updated. Most of it's going to be the same, right? It's probably, if you've seen my old list, most of this is going to be pretty familiar to you. Um, but we'll still go over the card by card. Digimon as the egg as usual. For one, this is important because these Guilmons evolve for 1 and raising if it's not from Digimon, so that's really important. And it has to be purple Digimon because when you don't draw your rookie, because you're only running 8, right? 8 or maybe even less. I've seen people get away with 7. If you don't draw your rookie, you need to be able to play your Wisdom, your purple, all your options need to be playable, right? Second thing about Digimon, really, really huge. When you do the play that is, evolve into Wargrowl, play a rookie from free, pop that rookie with Alice to go into Lilith to go into Ruin mode. Ruin mode becoming 17k is actually really good because then that means that it doesn't die to security to like 90% of things. Like Quartzmon, Omnimon, all the level 7s are usually around 15k. So, and you need Shrine Grade to live security check. So you can use it as end of attack effect, right? That's really important. End of attack effect on Ruin mode, like, is extremely important to get off if you're for this deck. So yeah, Digimon, really good egg for this. Like, even if they do print another Digimon in purple, it's going to be a competition. I think the DP comes up a lot for Digimon. Alternatively, I've had a moment where Wargrowl was at like 8k and it had this Growlmon in its sources, and I was able to use Growlmon to pop Guilmon and make it become a 10k, which is big enough to attack over like just about every other level 5 in the game. And sometimes that's important to like keep the board clear. Moving on, these are the same rookies you're probably used to already. 4 of this Guilmon, 2 of this Guilmon, and 2 of this Guilmon, or 4 of EX3, 2 of BT5, 2 of EX4. I can see cutting down EX4 Guilmon. I think that because we're running Ghoulmon instead of Creepymon, the rush is not as important. Sometimes you can use this rush to go for like the traditional win condition of attacking them. But generally, I generally don't think about that sort of thing. I think the game has to go in a really weird direction for that to be your win condition. And so the rush has like some applications in that occasionally maybe you can use it to help you clear board if your opponent has like a bunch of suspended stuff, right? That's about it. Usually you want to be using these ones. This Guilmon is really strong in combination with Alice, since you can pop it with via Alice effect and then gain a memory. You can also pop it with Calling and make Calling essentially a free card. So this Guilmon is really strong. And other than that, this Guilmon is usually your go-to because of what it does. It on deletion, it clears at 3k DP or less, and if it was delete, and if you didn't delete anything, you mill 2 cards, and milling is your win con. So it's another way to mill cards off of using Alice to pop it. It's another way to mill cards by using Growlmon to pop it. I mean, I guess you could say that's like the one thing the Guilmon Rush is good for. You can evolve it into Growlmon, into Wargrowl, and swing Wargrowl to pop this Guilmon to get you some extra mill. But that's about it, right? But yeah, and Guilmon is good for like keeping the opponent board clear if they're going wide with rookies, because on deletion delete 3k DP or less is really helpful for that exact scenario. The same exact level 4s as usual, Black Growl and Growlmon. If you played this deck before, you know why. This one's really important. It mills 2, guaranteed. And then it lets you grab Guilmons or Growlmons from your trash. Usually it's going to be War Growlmon because it's going to be what you evolve into. Because then afterwards, the on deletion lets you return the same Black Growlmon back to your hand, allowing you to essentially loop them, right? Evolve Black Growlmon, grab War Growlmon, evolve War Growlmon, it dies, you grab back Black Growlmon, rinse, repeat. And then this Growlmon is really important for the ability to out Floodgates, right? If you're one of the things that can actually beat this deck is like, Floodgates like Gazimon, Madoki, and such. And then Growlmon is like your best out to it. It's on Evo, delete a 3k or DP or less, which means you can evolve into it and then out that Floodgate and then continue doing what you normally would. If it doesn't delete, it just mills 2, but it doesn't have the the recursion effect of Black Growl, so that's kind of sad. And his inherit is to delete one of your Digimon to gain security attack +1. Occasionally, the security attack +1 usually doesn't matter, but the ability to delete one of your other Digimon is. You can use this to delete one of your Guilmons to mill 2 of your opponent's cards, or to delete a rookie, or to trigger Gigimon so you have extra DP to attack over something that's on your opponent's board. So that's a consideration as well. Same level 5s as usual. War Growlmon, this is the only level 5 that matters in my eyes because it's there to do your combos. It mills 3 cards guaranteed for both players, and then it plays one of your Guilmons in either hand or trash. And then if you know this deck, you know that that's really good for all of your combos, right? You can either you are popping that Guilmon to use Alice to go into your 6, or you're using that Guilmon to continue milling your opponent. You evolve that Guilmon you just played out into a new Black Growlmon, into a new War Growlmon, and that's usually, if you're going for game, that's part of the combo you use to, you know, mill them like 15 cards total, right? And then your level 6s are Lilith, Gulmon. You can run 4 Lilith. I think 3 or 4 Lilith is correct. 3 is being kind of greedy, but I wanted the space for other cards. But Lilith is extremely important. This is a Lilith mill deck. You use this to either grab back your other options, but usually grabbing back Jack Raid and then using the Jack Raid to get up to 5 memory. So you can go into Ruin mode without passing turn. And then Gulmon, you can run 2, but personally run only 1. Because the one moment that Gulmon is used is at the very end of the game when you're using it to mill your opponent for game, right? So you usually only need the 1. And if you ever need to use 2 of them, you can always use your Rival's Barrage and or Calling to grab it back, right? So yeah, the 1 Gulmon. And I'm running Gulmon over Creepymon. I think Gulmon is entirely better than Creepymon in the instance of this deck. It has the same exact mill 3 for every 10 cards in your trash. And while Creepymon does let you mill yourself, ideally, your opponent, or in most cases, your opponent would have no bodies on the board when you're going for game like this. So you're probably not going to be milling cards anyway. Alternatively, also when you're going for game by milling them out, you should probably be having 0 cards in your own deck at the same time. So again, Creepymon isn't going to mill yourself any cards either. So the fact that this thing mills on Digivolution instead of on attack is really important because it allows you to basically be more effective with your memory. You can, with Creepymon, you needed to, 1, play exactly Rush Guilmon so you can attack, and 2, you need to evolve into Creepymon without passing turn so you can actually attack to mill them out. With Gulmon, that's none of that is necessary anymore. You don't need Rush, and you don't need to be at 3 memory to go into Creepymon. You can be at 0 memory, you can be at 1 or 2 memory, and then you can evolve into Gulmon and mill them out. One really nice thing about that is that means you have to think less about your combos, right? Because as long as you're at 0 when you go to Gulmon, you're good. You don't have to like think about, okay, how do I have exact enough memory so that I can go into Creepymon without passing turn? None of that. Just keep climbing. As long as you're above 0 when you go into Gulmon, you're Gucci. Next, Ruin mode is your level 7. Again, really key card to the deck. You want to be running at least 2, and this deck is basically non-functional without it. You know, it is the one card in this deck, besides maybe Rivals, that helps you control the board and control the game, basically. Because up until the moment you're doing the combos to mill them out, this is the card that basically says your opponent can't play the game. In effect, it's like a time walk. In a lot of ways, it is basically time walk, right? On Evo or on deletion, give minus 5k to all opponent's Digimon until end of opponent's turn. And since that's until end of opponent's turn, that's everything that they have on board, and it's everything that they play onto the board during your opponent's next turn, right? And by the way, that does turn off their on-play effects. If they have minus 5k on the board and they play a 5k or less on-play effect, that thing will die before getting to do the on-play effect. That is a rule, and you can look it up. It's on the Q&A. But more than that, usually they're going to be at minus 10 KDP because with the way you play this deck, you typically are going to go into Lilithmon for free using Alice, then using your Jack Raids to go up to 5 memory, and evolving into Ruin mode without passing turn. Doing that, you're able to use his end of attack effect. You swing, you're usually going to be 17k because of Digimon. If you survive the check, you can do end of attack, delete this Digimon, one of your opponent's Digimon, and recovery 1, and if you have a tamer, you hatch. This is massive for the deck and basically means that once you go into ruin mode, the game is over and you've basically already won. This deletion effect means anything that didn't die to the minus 5k will die to that effect. Plus, deleting itself triggers the on deletion again, the wind dissolving / on deletion effect again, meaning the opponent will be minus 10k on the board. And at that point, even if they have a level 5 in the back, they can't push out a raising and do anything because they'll just die immediately, right? And then you hatch, right? And that means that after you've done all this, for one, you get to put another Guilmon in your raising area and basically set up to combo off again on the next turn, right? So you don't have any downtime, right? That hatch is so huge for maintaining your absolute lockdown of the game. And on top of all of that, you get to trigger the on deletion of your Black Realmon Inherit, meaning you get to recur the resources, right? You get to grab back the Black Realmon if you only have the one, and then the Black Realmon gets to return the level 5 back, allowing you to basically have like perfect control of your resources as well. It is so good, and basically the reason why this deck is broken is all entirely comes down to Ruin Mode. Ruin Mode is absolutely just like the most broken card. Moving on to the rest of the cards, the options. We're playing 4 training, 4 purple boost, 4 mist boosts. This is a lot of consistency boosting for the deck. Mist boost isn't that great of a consistency booster because it mills too, but between having cards like Rivals, Calling the Darkness, and Black Realmon, you should be fine milling most of your cards. Mist boost can mill your War Ground, and Black Realm can grab back the War Ground and be fine. Sometimes it mills your Lilith or Ruin Mode, and that can be scary, but you do have Glaive Boost, Rivals, and Calling from Darkness to grab them back. Speaking of which, this is why we're running on 3 Glaive Boost. I would run 4, but space is kind of tight. Basically, you can think of Calling as being your 4th Glaive Boost, and because both of them grab cards from your trash, right? But Calling is a bit more flexible, especially because it costs 1. And there are moments where you want Calling over Glaive Boost, like for example the play I was mentioning earlier, where you can evolve into Guilmon and then use Calling to delete the Guilmon and grab it back, allowing you to use it again for the second time in the same turn, which can be huge if you're trying to mill an opponent out that has like 20 cards left in deck or so. But yeah, the delay cards are pretty self-explanatory. Your entire game plan up until you combo off is to do nothing but to play these cards until you have the resources to climb an entire stack all the way up to Lilith into Ruin Mode, swing the Ruin Mode, turn off their next turn from being able to do anything, hatch, evolve Guilmon, play more boosts, then next turn you move up, and then you start actually going for game by milling with Black Realmon, War Growlmon, playing another Guilmon, which evolve into another Black Realmon, into another War Growlmon, evolve into a Lilith, use Lilith to grab Jack Raids, use Jack Raids to gain more memory to continue to do the game plan. And of course, because we're playing Lilith and this is a Lilith deck, we're also running the 4 Jack Raids. These are pretty self-explanatory. If you ever play with Lilith, you know why we run Jack Raids. This is just a bunch of free memory. It's especially important for the turns following your Ruin Mode play because you usually popped all of your boosts getting there. So the Lilithmon grabbing back Jack Raids from your trash means that you can then stock those Jack Raids in your hand. And then if you only have like 1 or 2 boosts on board, you can probably still combo off by using the Jack Raids from your hand. And at that point, because you've deleted your Ruin Mode, it fills your trash, so you should have at least pretty close to 20 cards of trash in that point, and which makes Jack Raids really strong. Next is the Rivals Barrage. I might show a clip earlier of me talking about Rivals Barrage and why I prefer it over Slinger. I just think Rivals Barrage just has more utility and is just a better security bomb than Slinger in this deck specifically. I think with the way the meta is shaked up, I think Rivals Barrage is just one of the best security bombs there is. It deletes Lugamon that's trying to OTK you, it deletes Shine that's trying to kill you. Like, if Marcus swings, you delete the Shine, which means they can't go into Burst Mode, which saves your ass. It deletes Mirage that's OTKing you. It tries to delete all force, but it forces them to waste one of their attacks because they have to, unsuspend after they evade. It forces them to evade, which forces them to either lose a next attack or waste one of their Rena triggers on unsuspending. So that could also save your ass. It deletes Bloomlord if Bloomlord is trying to combo off. I think it's just overall the best security bomb in the game right now for purple. And besides that, when you mill it off of Black Growl, Growlmon, or Mist Boost, you can put it on the battle area and use that as another way to grab back important pieces from the trash, especially cards like Lilith, Guamon, or Ruin Mode. So overall, I think it's just the best security bomb they could be running besides Slinger. And while Slinger does have its uses, I'd hesitate cutting Rivals for it, right? I think Rivals is just overall so much stronger, especially because Slinger is reliant on your trash count, and oftentimes your trash count isn't high before you're comboing off, because a lot of your early game should not be to move up your stack and start evolving into Growlmon and War Growlmon. You should be staying in the back and playing your boosts so you can get ready to move up and go into Ruin mode when you're actually in trouble, right? But yeah. And then the last card we haven't talked about yet is Alice. Alice is also pretty self-explanatory. It combos extremely well with War Growl because War Growl plays a body, which allows you to pop it to evolve into your Lilith for free. Note that when you are comboing off for game, you don't do that. Instead, what you would do is that the body you play out is going to be your second stack, and then your first stack can be deleted for your Lilith. It should be at that point where you can Jack Raid for like 4 memory to play 2 Jack Raids, gain 4 memory, evolve the Lilith, get back those Jack Raids, play one of them to gain back the memory. Then your second stack, the Guilmon, evolve into Black Growl into War Growl. Then you delete your first Lilithmon to make your second Lilithmon, right? That way, you still have a level 3 on the board, so you can continue to evolve. That is the loop that you're doing when you're trying to mill for game. Yeah. So Alice has like 2 purposes. The first one is to help you go into Lilith into Ruin mode in the early game, and in the late game, you don't need to pop your level 3 to go into Lilith. You need the level 3 to go into your to go into Growlmon, War Growlmon. So instead, what you're doing is you should have enough memory to go into Lilith. Then your second stack can go into another Lilith, popping the first Lilith, allowing you to trigger your Black Growlmon. And that's the deck. How do I think this will do against OTK Red War Greymon? They build quick. Against any OTK deck, it's just a race against time. How fast can you set up boosts so you can Ruin mode them? If you can Ruin mode them before they find their OTK, you should be sitting pretty because they can't, move out of raising to kill you. And that's the same case with like any other, basically any other OTK deck. No matter which one it is, no matter how fast it is, it's just gonna come down if you can make the combo before they pull out a raising. Alternatively, even if they do, combo off and try to kill you early, unless they have specifically BT1 Wargrey, you could potentially check enough rivals to delete them through their protections. Like, it depends on how many protections they have, right? But alternatively, if they check Jack Raid insecurity, they might just lose their turn and give you an opportunity to win on them, right? But it is rough. But OTK Wargrey, I think, is not going to be as popular as Black Wargrey, and Black Wargrey is so much slower to the point where that you should be able to, combo off all over them. You'll find all your pieces to combo and mill them out before they kill you. Thoughts on Lilithmon BT14 tech as extra removal? That's pretty valid, actually, especially in the Greymon matchup, because they're often going to be big enough for you to pop it twice. And sometimes Greymon could be an issue for Ruin mode, because if they're like a 16 or something, if they're like a 17 plus blocker, then they can... Well, they're going to be smaller because of the minus DP, so they're probably not going to block. I think they're going to have to be like at least a 20k blocker. 22. But with the right cards, they can reach that amount. Either way, Ruin mode only deletes once, so you can swing, attempt to delete, and then the Greymon protects itself, and then having the Lilithmon to follow up means that you will be able to remove the Greymon past their protections. But saying that, it feels like Greymon is like the one matchup that you might want to tech that card for. If you're not seeing Greymons a lot, then you don't have to consider it, or otherwise, other way around. If you are seeing a lot of Greymons in your locals or wherever you're playing, then you start to consider putting the Lilithmon in as a tech for that matchup. There's probably other scenarios where Gallantmon comes up a lot too. But I think the big issue is that don't have a lot of cards in trash until the turn you're actually comboing off. You know, if you're going into ruin mode, that fills up your trash. So then after ruin mode, you can play the Gallantmon from your hand, especially since after doing that, ruin mode deletes itself, so your board should be empty. But because ruin mode usually clears the board, the only time that you would need Gallantmon after going into ruin mode is if you're playing, say, against Wargreymon, or like something like Machine Dramon, I guess also counts, right? A deck like that. What would I cut? Arrivals, maybe? Yeah, it probably would be Arrivals. That or a rookie. The original list of Mid-Loop was only running 7 rookies, if you want to believe it, right? I think he was running like four of these and like 3 of these or something like that. They were running 7, and I think you can potentially get away with 7 if you're, if you're crazy. I mean, if you're confident. I mean, like it's a risk, but like even 8 rookies is kind of low. You just need that space for all your boosts. But yeah, you can get away with 7, I think. So alternatively, besides maybe this Guilmon, you can run the BT14 Gallantmon as a tech. And if you want to keep 8 rookies, then Rivals is also worthy cut. But I really like Rivals. I think running more than less is good because you want them in security because they save your ass from being OTK'd in so many matchups. I'd almost want to cut another Glaive for a 4th Rivals, actually. I might consider that. Yeah, Glaive is also one of these cards that's probably a flex spot. I like running a lot because I think that the Glaive is really strong in general for this deck. Because you should be milling off your Mist Boost or whatever. And then you can use this to grab back the Lilith Ghoul or Ruin mode that you need to combo off. But because until the moment you combo off, the only mill that you'd usually be doing is off of Mist, and maybe you might push out early if you're feeling that you have the space to, like if the game is going long enough. So Glaive feels like kind of iffy for those specific reasons. So maybe then you might not want to cut Glaive for Rivals or for Gallant. You're probably never gonna do this, but one funny thing you can do is like go, build up a stack with Growlmon up into Ghoulmon, and then you can swing Ghoulmon for like 3 checks at 13k. Like if you really want to like instead go for like the kill them game plan, you can make a 3 check Ghoulmon at 13k.